What's going on, everybody? Matt here with Patriot Comics. Welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to show off my collection of Dave Stevens comic books. These are books that either have Dave Stevens artwork on the cover, or he did some of the penciling on, or he just worked on these comic books in general. Dave Stevens is one of my all-time favorite comic book artists. I love his classic artwork. It's very like retro pinup. I'm just a huge fan of his style. We'll get a little bit into Dave Stevens himself in just a moment, but we're going to start off with all of the comics I have in my collection that are related to Dave Stevens. So we're going to jump right in to all the comics. Before we get to that, if you haven't already, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell so you can see when I upload my next video. Also, check the links down below, because if you want to sign up for Whatnot using my link, you get $15 free. So check all the links in the description of the video. Now let's get to all my Dave Stevens comics. It's a really cool collection that I've been working on a lot, pretty hard lately, trying to find these, either at comic shops or comic book shows or out in the wild, at yard sales and flea markets and all that good stuff. Everywhere I'm hunting comics, I always have in the back of my mind that I'm searching for some Dave Stevens goodness. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first book here is The Rocketeer, the official movie adaptation. Of course, as you see here, it does have the signature down on the left there is a Dave Stevens cover. As you see, he depicts the Rocketeer, which is pretty much like his known character that he's worked on throughout the years. A big fan of The Rocketeer. I even thought the movie was pretty good, but this is actually the comic book adaptation for that 1990s movie. So really cool to have this one. As you see, I got it from my local comic book shop for only $4. I think that was a steal of a deal. It's a nice near mint copy. So not too bad. It even has a $6 cover price, so kind of cool to get it for less than cover price. And I love the cover. It's a Dave Stevens cover. And of course, Patriot Comics. I love the awesome, amazing Old Glory waving on the cover there. Really, really cool book. Happy to have this one in the collection. Now let's move on to some more Rocketeer. This is Pacific Presents The Rocketeer, issue number 1, with a Dave Stevens story, Dave Stevens artwork. This is a little Dave Stevens goodness up at the top, but this is actually a 2-story comic. It also features Steve Ditko's The Missing Man. Steve Ditko is another classic comic book artist, which I'm a huge fan of. I collect a lot of his older work. Of course, we know him on the early Spider-Man stuff, and he does a million amazing books and covers and artwork throughout the comic book history. So this one's really cool. This is issue number 1 for Pacific Presents. Really cool. It's like an indie comic from, I guess, the late 80s, I believe. So really, really cool book. I got this really fairly inexpensive. I believe this was from my local comic shop as well. Great cover, especially when it's featuring the artwork of 2 of my favorite guys, but this is part of the Dave Stevens collection for sure. Really cool Rocketeer cover art there. Happy to have this one in the collection. Continuing on with some more Rocketeer, this is Pacific Presents issue number 2, with an amazing Dave Stevens cover with the Rocketeer there. Also has a little story featuring Missing Man from Steve Ditko. But this is a great looking cover with the red and the black and the shadows. Huge fan of this artwork here. Just another classic Dave Stevens goodness. I mean, what's cool is when you see Dave Stevens artwork, you just know that it's him. It's so recognizable, and it's just gorgeous artwork. I can't really say it enough. So happy to have this one. This one's got a couple little spine ticks on there, but not really that bad. I think I got this for like $3 or $4 at my local comic book shop as well. Really great cover there. I like that one a lot. Also, we have Special Edition #1, The Rocketeer. This is a really cool book. This has a bunch of different artwork in it, but it's got some great Dave Stevens stuff in there. A little Betty Page. You got Rocketeer. Not sure why there's a $25 price tag on there. That's an old tag. I think I got this book for like $5 or $10. And it's just a really, really cool book. If you haven't flipped through this one before, definitely check it out. There's some great artwork in here. Happy to have this one in the collection. This is a nice near mint copy as well. Really, really cool. Dave Stevens featuring Rocketeer. Also got a little bit of Betty Page as well. We'll get to a little more Betty Page in just a moment. Really, really cool. Happy to have this one. All right, this one is pretty interesting because this is a DC Who's Who. I forgot what volume this is. Volume 4. So in the interior of this book, there's a bunch of different panels and artwork by all different artists throughout DC and throughout the comic book realm, really. But there is a really cool Dave Stevens piece of artwork in here. I'll throw it up on the screen. It's just a classic little piece of art, and I figured I'd feature this in today's video because it does hold a place in my Dave Stevens collection. So, I think I found this in the dollar bin at my local comic book shop. Can't go wrong. It's a cool book full of an amazing artwork. If you haven't flipped through these books before, definitely check them out. All right, moving on to some really cool stuff here. Here we have Alien Worlds. This is the issue #1. This is the 3D comic. It has the 3D glasses. The whole book is in that classic red and blue 3D. It's a lot of fun to put your little paper glasses on and flip through this book. Dave Stevens does a lot of the penciling, maybe some inking. And he doesn't do this cover here, but he is featured in this book, and he's also featured throughout this comic book series. We'll get into a few more of these books in just a moment, but I figured I'd feature this one because he did work on this title, and this is just an awesome book. Some classic 80s 3D comics with a really crazy cover. Love the science fiction stuff. Awesome book there. Leading into Alien Worlds issue #1. So this is the debut issue for this series. Just a really, really cool artwork, really crazy stories. It's a lot of fun to flip through and read, and just checking out the artwork is a lot of fun. Dave Stevens does work on this title. He did not do this cover, but the cover is actually pretty beautiful, beautiful painted artwork. So I figured I'd feature this as well. But now let's move on to the same title, but some of the Dave Stevens cover art. This one is gorgeous. Alien Worlds issue #2, featuring Aurora and this creepy little creature there. Looks like a little jester alien thing. But this is a 1982 Dave Stevens cover. Like I said earlier, when you see it, you know it's Dave Stevens. Just the way he depicts the female form. It's kind of like that pinup meets it's very retro feeling, like that. It almost has like a 1950s feel. Really, really cool stuff. I think this book, or this whole series, is a lot of fun. And this is just a really great cover that he did for Alien Worlds, issue #2. And this is a nice near mint copy. I think I got this one off of eBay, actually. I was looking for it at local comic book shops and comic shows, and I find them once in a while, but they're priced at like $20, $30, and I think I found this on eBay for like $8 with like $3 shipping. So I think I got a pretty good deal on this one, and it is a beautiful cover. All right, speaking of beautiful covers, we're moving on to the next issue here, Alien Worlds issue #4. Another gorgeous cover. I actually like this one a little bit better than the previous issue we just saw. I love the green and the black and the night sky, the space. It looks really cool. You have this female astronaut type character with the bubble helmet. It's, like I said before, very retro, very like 50s feeling. This is a 1983 Dave Stevens cover. Gorgeous artwork. I'm a huge fan of this one. I love this one. Really happy to have it in my collection. All right, that's gorgeous. I think I'm not trying to remember where I picked this one up. But I remember I paid I got a really good deal on it. I think I paid like less than $10 for it, which is a pretty good deal now that everyone's kind of catching on to the Dave Stevens excitement, and they're realizing that he was an amazing artist, and just so classic, such a timeless, very timeless, really cool cover. Beautiful artwork, and a nice near mint copy. All right, moving on to some other really cool stuff here. This is King Kong issue number 1 with that classic cover where you have the damsel in distress and Kong in the background. It's a little cartoony, but it's very, retro looking, very like 50s. It just reminds you of the old black and white King Kong movie. I love this cover. I kind of wish it didn't have like the border around it. I wish it was like a full, just a full picture, and they weren't cutting off like the part of Kong's face. I don't know. It does kind of fit, but I kind of wish there was a little bit more going on with the cover. But I still love the artwork. And the female in the foreground and King Kong, she's like sitting in his palm. It's like that classic scene from the movie. Really, really cool. And this is the official adaptation of the fantasy classic King Kong issue number 1. There's a few other issues in this series, but I don't believe Dave Stevens did any of the other covers, just this one here. But that is gorgeous, and that's a really clean copy as well. All right, this next one here is actually really, really cool. This is Crossfire and Rainbow, a 1986 Dave Stevens cover featuring Elvis playing the ukulele. And it's just such a cool cover. Beautiful colors, the vibrant colors in the girl's hair. And it's just got that classic, a little bit more of like a 60s feel. Just really, really cool from Eclipse Comics. This is issue number 4. It's just such a crazy, unique type cover. Kind of funny, kind of goofy. You have the beautiful women, and you got Elvis. How cool is this? Really, really happy to have this one in the collection. I saw this, I think I got this at a comic show. I saw it sitting there, and I actually didn't even know about this book. I saw it, and I'm like, that is some crazy artwork. I'm like, that almost looks like Dave Stevens. And then I saw right there, 1986 Dave Stevens. So that was a nice little addition to my collection here. Now we're getting into the top, the top 4 of my favorite Dave Stevens covers, starting off with this one here, True Love issue number 1. Such a cool cover. And now, I'm saying that some of his artwork looks like the 50s, and that Elvis one we just saw was like kind of the 60s vibe. This one has that straight 80s vibe going on. Really cool. Just beautiful artwork. And it's, just something about this cover just really, really stands out. So, True Love issue number 1. Classic 1985 Dave Stevens goodness from Eclipse Comics. Really, really cool. Happy to have this one in the collection. This was a great cover as well. Here we have a 1986 Johnny Quest issue number 5 from Comico Comics. Featuring Jade. Just a beautiful depiction on the cover by Dave Stevens, of course. And you got Johnny Quest and his crew. Really, really cool book here. I found this one at a comic book shop in Philadelphia. That was a really cool find. I think I got this for a pretty good deal, maybe like $10 or so. And it's a gorgeous copy. It's kind of hard to get a high grade with that black spine. I think there's like a little tiny tick right there. But besides that, it looks really good. So, Johnny Quest, number 5, classic 1986 Dave Stevens cover. Gorgeous. I love the way he depicts the females. They just look so cool. All right, keep on going. How about this one? This is one of my favorites. This is Elvira's House of Mystery, issue number 11, the giant-sized Halloween Spectacular. Really, really cool cover. As you probably know, if you've watched any of my videos, I'm a huge horror comics fan, or just a horror fan in general. I love horror movies and horror-themed toys and comic books. You know, big fan of Halloween. And I saw this book at a comic convention. I think I paid up on this one quite a bit. I think I paid around $30 for it. It's pretty much worth that. It does have a couple little spine ticks, but I've seen this sell for around $50 on eBay, you know, as high as 50. But $30 is usually the going rate for this book. And I had to have it. I never find this one, you know, out at shows or at comic shops or anything. You know, I saw it on eBay, but I try not to buy my comics off eBay because I feel like it kind of takes the thrill out of the hunt. But I saw this one and I had to grab it. Beautiful Elvira cover. She's riding the broom like a witch. Really, really cool. Beautiful piece of artwork right there by Dave Stevens. All right, now we're getting to the second to last one. This is the last Raw book I'm going to show you. Then I'm going to show you one of my CGC graded books that I have that is part of this Dave Stevens collection. But as you see here, this is Bettie Page Comics. Really, really crazy cover featuring Bettie Page in her jungle bikini with these, you know, these characters in the background, you know, these Aborigine type characters or whatever you want to call that. But really, really crazy, interesting cover. Kind of speaks for the time where they were depicting certain people in certain ways and, you know, may not be extremely politically correct. But this is a Dave Stevens cover from 1981. Just a crazy looking cover, but it is some pretty outstanding artwork. And of course, Bettie Page, the classic pinup female of, you know, the 50s and 60s. Really, really cool. Just a crazy book. I can't remember where I got this one. I probably at another comic show. And I feel like I got this for a decent price too, probably around like $8 or $10. I've seen these on eBay sell for like, you know, $15, $20, up to $30 in high grade. And this is a beautiful near mint copy. So those are some of the books that I have in my Dave Stevens collection. These are all the Raw books. Now I'm going to show you one of my graded comics, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Dave Stevens and check out some of his, you know, extremely famous cover art and comics that he's worked on. So this book here is one of my all-time favorite Dave Stevens covers. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous cover. And as you see here, I do have it in a CGC 9.0 white pages. You know, it's not the highest grade, but it is hard to get a high grade with this black spine. Just a really amazing cover from the 80s. This is DNA Agents, issue number 24. As you see here, this is the final issue of the series and a Dave Stevens cover. Just really, really gorgeous. 1985, DNA Agents, issue number 24. And just look at the artwork here. Man, she looks gorgeous. Such a cool book. I did get this one off of eBay just because I was looking for this book. I wanted it raw. I'm not a big CGC collector, but I found this at a pretty decent price. Pretty much the price of the raw book. So I had to pick it up. Really, really amazing comic book piece of artwork here. Definitely my favorite book in my Dave Stevens collection. Now let's talk a little bit about Dave Stevens. His name was Dave Lee Stevens, and he was an American illustrator and comic book artist, and most famous for creating the Rocketeer comic book and film character, and for his pinup style glamour art illustrations, especially of the model Bettie Page. He was the first to win the Comic-Con International's Russ Manning Most Promising Newcomer Award in 1982, and received both an Inkpot Award and the Kirby Award for Best Graphic Album in 1986. Stevens was born on July 29, 1955 in Linwood, California, and grew up in Portland, Oregon. His family relocated to San Diego, where he attended San Diego City College for 2 years and was an annual San Diego Comic-Con attendee. Stevens' work had a significant influence on the comic book and fantasy illustrators of today, among them Adam Hughes. Artist Laura Molina, whom Dave Stevens had a romantic relationship with in the 1970s, used him as a subject of her controversial Naked Dave series of paintings. Very interesting. And on November 3rd, 2022, Samuel Goldwyn Films announced they acquired distribution rights to the feature-length documentary Dave Stevens Drawn to Perfection. And if you haven't seen that, you definitely need to check it out. In 1980, Dave Stevens married longtime girlfriend Charlene Brinkman, later known as horror film Scream Queen Brinky Stevens. Their marriage ended in divorce just 6 months later, unfortunately, though she later modeled for Stevens. Following several years of struggling with an uncommon leukemia, which caused gradual reduction of his artistic output, Stevens unfortunately died on March 11th, 2008 in Turlock, California. I believe that Dave Stevens is the most iconic and recognizable artist of comic books, and I believe his legacy will live on forever. And to close out today's video, let's take a look at the most iconic comic book cover art that Dave Stevens has put out throughout his career.